Kodak was an enormous name in photography, launching the box camera, particularly film manufacturers. It's where Kodak made its money, made its name. Kodak in the 1960s and 70s was as big a name as Microsoft or Google. It was such a vast company. And they had always made some cameras. In the 1960s, they were producing a quality 35mm camera called the Kodak Retinette, and a cheaper version of the Retina meaning eye, was the Retinette. And they had been producing Retinettes since the 30s actually. Now, in the 60s, the Retinettes were a quality camera, not as high, as I said, as the Retina. They were made by Kodak AG in Germany. They were a West German made camera, and there were basically two versions in the late 50s and early 60s. You got the 1A, and the 1A did not have a light meter. And then you had the 1B with a light meter. And I always think of them as quite a nice quality camera. Nowadays, they don't seem to have the recognition they had in the 60s. They were not a cheap camera. They were not as expensive as things like the Leica, but they were still a relatively expensive camera. I always think of them a bit like the bank manager camera, or the camera which a very popular sort of middle class car of the 1960s was the Rover, the P4. And I think this is a camera to go with your Rover. They often came in quite nice leather brown cases like this. They had a leaf shutter. This one has very basic zone focusing, but with the zone focusing you also have how many this is in both meters and feet. So I can have a little face here which is on about 2 meters, and so I can focus there, set the shutter speed here, and set the aperture here, and it makes a nice little click. And the wind on is quite nice. It's along the bottom, click and wind on. If you ever have a Retina and you find it's not working, just check what the number might be, because if the counter is on 0, it won't work. It has to be, because when it gets to 0, it says you finished the film, so because it counts down on the Retina. But that isn't the case on most of the Retinettes. So, very simple to load. You open it from the bottom, film in, wind on. I've used these a bit, and I've always been moderately nicely surprised by the sharpness of the images. The lenses are often Snyder lenses. The lenses are good. This is a 2.8 Snyder 50mm lens. Bit of a pain I always find with these is rewinding them, because you have to press the button here and you rewind here. If you've got the 1B, you've got a cesium meter, and you've got a needle in the middle. One of the issues you do get on these, if you ever come across one, is the leaf shutter doesn't always operate. It should operate, but it seems to be prone to seizing up. And I suppose these cameras are now at least 50 years old, and actually they probably just need a good service. So it's the shutter you normally need to check on these. If the shutter's working, then you've normally got quite a nice camera. The wind on normally works quite well. It's just the shutters that sometimes fail. Often the meters keep going as well. So if you find one, a Kodak Retinette, have a go with it, because you might be surprised. They are, as I said before, I think they're undervalued undervalued camera, and you might be able to pick one up really cheaply. If you find one, have a go. Bye.